River Jude Phoenix was an American actor, musician, and animal activist. He was the older brother of Rain Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix, Liberty Phoenix, and Summer Phoenix.
Phoenix's work encompassed 24 films and television appearances, and his rise to fame led to his status as a teen idol. He began his acting career at age 10 in television commercials. He starred in the science fiction adventure film Explorers and had his first notable role in 1986's Stand By Me, a coming-of-age film based on the novella The Body by Stephen King. Phoenix made a transition into more adult-oriented roles with Running on Empty, playing the son of fugitive parents in a well-received performance that earned him a nomination for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and My Own Private Idaho, playing a gay hustler in search of his estranged mother. For his performance in the latter, Phoenix garnered enormous praise and won a Volpe Cup for Best Actor at the Venice Film Festival, along with Best Actor from the National Society of Film Critics.
On October 31, 1993, Phoenix collapsed and died of combined drug intoxication following a drug overdose on the sidewalk outside the West Hollywood nightclub The Viper Room at the age of 23. At the time of his death, Phoenix was acting in Dark Blood, which was released in 2012.
Phoenix was born on August 23, 1970 in Madras, Oregon, the first child of Arlen Dunitz and John Lee Bottom. Phoenix's parents named him after the River of Life from the Hermann Hesse novel Siddhartha, and he received his middle name from the Beatles' song, Hey Jude. In an interview with People, Phoenix described his parents as hippie-ish. His mother was born in New York to Jewish parents whose families had emigrated from Russia and Hungary. His father was a lapsed Catholic from Fontana, California, of English, German, and French ancestry. In 1968, Phoenix's mother traveled across the United States. While hitchhiking in California, she met John Lee Bottom. They married on September 13, 1969, less than a year after meeting.
Phoenix's family moved cross-country when he was very young. Phoenix was raised in Micanopy, Florida, a small suburb of Gainesville, where they lived in poverty. Phoenix has stated that they lived in a desperate situation. Phoenix often played guitar, while he and his sister sang on street corners for money and food to support their ever-growing family. Phoenix never attended formal school. Screenwriter Naomi Foner later commented, "He was totally without education. I mean, he could read and write, and he had an appetite for it, but he had no deep roots into any kind of sense of history or literature." George Sluizer claimed Phoenix was dyslexic.
In 1973, the family joined a controversial Christian new religious movement called the Children of God as missionaries. The family had settled in Caracas, Venezuela, where the Children of God had stationed them to work as missionaries and fruit gatherers. Although Phoenix rarely talked about the cult, he was quoted by Arlen Phoenix in a 1994 Esquire article as having said, "They're disgusting, they're ruining people's lives." According to Vanity Fair magazine, Phoenix was raped at the age of 4. In an interview with Details magazine in November 1991, Phoenix stated he lost his virginity at age 4 while in the Children of God, but I've blocked it out. Years later, his brother Joaquin would claim that River was joking, saying, "It was a complete and total joke. It was just fucking with the press. It was literally a joke because he was so tired of being asked ridiculous questions by the press."
Arlen and John eventually grew disillusioned with the Children of God. Arlen would later tell a journalist that she and her husband were opposed to the group's practice of flirty fishing, stating, "The group was being distorted by the leader, David Berg, who was getting powerful and wealthy. He sought to attract rich disciples through sex. No way." In the late 1970s, River's family moved in with Arlen's parents in Florida. The family officially changed their name to Phoenix after the mythical bird that rises from its own ashes, symbolizing a new beginning.
Back in the United States, Arlen began working as a secretary for an NBC broadcaster and John as an exteriors architect. Talent agent Iris Burton spotted River, Joaquin, and their sisters Summer and Rain singing for Spare Change in Westwood, Los Angeles, and was so charmed by the family that she soon represented the 4 siblings.
River started doing commercials for Mitsubishi, Ocean Spray, and Saks Fifth Avenue, and soon afterward he and the other children were signed by casting director Penny Marshall from Paramount Pictures. River and Rain were assigned immediately to a show called Real Kids as warm-up performers for the audience. In 1980, Phoenix began to fully pursue his work as an actor, making his first appearance on a TV show called Fantasy Singing with his sister Rain. In 1982, River was cast in the short-lived CBS television series, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, in which he starred as the youngest brother, Guthrie McFadden. River arrived at the auditions with his guitar, and promptly burst into a convincing Elvis Presley impersonation, charming the show producer. By this age, Phoenix was also an accomplished tap dancer.
Almost a year after Seven Brides ended in 1983, Phoenix found a new role in the 1984 television movie Celebrity, where he played the part of young Jeffy Crawford. Although he was only on screen for about 10 minutes, his character was central. Less than a month after Celebrity came the ABC after-school special, Backwards: The Riddle of Dyslexia. River starred as a young boy who discovers he has dyslexia. Jacquin starred in a small role alongside his brother. In September, the pilot episode of the short-lived TV series It's Your Move aired. Phoenix was cast as Brian and only had one line of dialogue. He also starred as Robert Kennedy's son, Robert Kennedy Jr., in the TV movie Robert Kennedy and His Times. After his role in Dyslexia was critically acclaimed, Phoenix was almost immediately cast as a major role in his next made-for-TV movie, Surviving: A Family in Crisis. He starred as Philip Brogan alongside Molly Ringwald and Heather O'Rourke. Halfway during the filming of Surviving, Iris Burton contacted him about a possible role in the film Explorers.
In October 1984, Phoenix secured the role of geeky boy scientist Wolfgang Muller in Joe Dante's large-budget science fiction film Explorers alongside Ethan Hawke, and production began soon after. Released in the summer of 1985, this was Phoenix's first major motion picture role. In October 1986, Phoenix co-starred alongside Tuesday Weld and Geraldine Fitzgerald in the acclaimed CBS television movie Circle of Violence, a family drama which told a story of domestic elder abuse. This was Phoenix's last television role before achieving film stardom.
At 15, Phoenix had a significant role in Rob Reiner's popular coming-of-age film Stand By Me, which made him a household name. The Washington Post opined that Phoenix gave the film its center of gravity. Phoenix commented, "The truth is, I identified so much with the role of Chris Chambers that if I hadn't had my family to go back to after the shoot, I'd have probably had to see a psychiatrist." Later that year, Phoenix completed Peter Weir's The Mosquito Coast, playing the son of Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren's characters. "He was obviously going to be a movie star," observed Weir. "It's something apart from acting ability. Laurence Olivier never had what River had." During the 5-month shoot in Belize, Phoenix began a romance with his co-star Martha Plimpton, a relationship which continued in some form for many years. Phoenix was surprised by the poor reception for the film, feeling more secure about his work in it than he had in Stand By Me. Phoenix was next cast as the lead in the teen comedy drama A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, but was disappointed with his performance. "It didn't turn out the way I thought it would, and I put the blame on myself. I wanted to do a comedy, and it was definitely a stretch, but I'm not sure I was even the right person for the role." In 1988, Phoenix starred in Little Nikita alongside Sidney Poitier. During this time, the Phoenix family continued to move on a regular basis, moving over 40 times by the time Phoenix was 18. Phoenix purchased his family a ranch in Micanopy, Florida, near Gainesville in 1987, in addition to a spread in Costa Rica.
His sixth feature film was Sidney Lumet's Running on Empty, in which he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and received the Best Supporting Actor honor from the National Board of Review for his role in Running on Empty. Phoenix jumped to his feet during the ceremony when Kevin Kline beat him for the Oscar. "I had to stop River from running to hug Kevin," quote recalled his mother Arlene. It never crossed his mind that he hadn't won. That year he also portrayed a young Indiana Jones in the box office hit Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, directed by Steven Spielberg. In 1990, Phoenix was photographed by Bruce Weber for Vogue and was spokesperson for a campaign for Gap. In 1991, Phoenix filmed an acclaimed independent picture called Dogfight, co-starring Lily Taylor and directed by Nancy Savoca. In the romantic coming-of-age drama set in San Francisco, Phoenix portrayed a young U.S. Marine on the night before he was shipped off to Vietnam in November 1963. Taylor remarked that Phoenix suffered because he could not distance himself from his character. He also hadn't gotten into any dash, he was just drinking then too. It was different, that was actually a hard part for him, because it was so radically different from who he was. He was such a hippie, and here he was playing this Marine. It actually caused him a lot of discomfort. I don't think he enjoyed that, actually, getting into that psyche.
Phoenix met actor Keanu Reeves while Reeves was filming Parenthood with Phoenix's brother, Joaquin. However, Phoenix had reportedly auditioned for Bill in Reeves' then current film Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure before the role was taken by Alex Winter. The two starred together for the first time in 1990's I Love You to Death and again in Gus Van Sant's avant-garde film My Own Private Idaho. In his review for Newsweek, David Anson praised Phoenix's performance. The campfire scene in which Mike awkwardly declares his unrequited love for Scott is a marvel of delicacy. In this and every scene, Phoenix immerses himself so deeply inside his character you almost forget you've seen him before. It's a stunningly sensitive performance, poignant and comic at once.
For his role in My Own Private Idaho, Phoenix won Best Actor honors at the Venice Film Festival, the National Society of Film Critics and the Independent Spirit Awards. The film and its success solidified Phoenix's image as an actor with edgy, leading man potential. In that period, Phoenix was beginning to use marijuana, cocaine, and heroin with some friends.
In the book Gus Van Sant wrote about Phoenix, Pink, the director said clearly that Phoenix was not a regular drug user, but only an occasional one, and that the actor had a more serious problem with alcohol. Phoenix had always tried to hide his addictions because he feared that they might ruin his career, as they did his relationship with Martha Plimpton.
Phoenix teamed up with Robert Redford and again with Sidney Poitier for the conspiracy/espionage thriller Sneakers. A month later he began production on Sam Shepard's art house ghost western Silent Tongue. He also was beaten out for the role of Paul by Brad Pitt in A River Runs Through It. He made a cameo appearance in Van Sant's Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, co-starring his sister Rain. Phoenix then starred in Peter Bogdanovich's country music-themed film, The Thing Called Love, the last completed picture before his death. Phoenix began a relationship with co-star Samantha Mathis on the set.
Although Phoenix's movie career was generating most of the income for his family, it has been stated by close friends and relatives that his true passion was music. Phoenix was a singer, songwriter, and an accomplished guitarist. He had begun teaching himself guitar at the age of 5 and had stated in an interview for E! In 1988 that his family's move to Los Angeles when he was 9 was made so that he and his sister could become recording artists. I fell into commercials for financial reasons, and acting became an attractive concept. Prior to securing an acting agent, Phoenix and his siblings tried to forge a career in music by playing cover versions on the streets of the Westwood district of Law, often being moved along by police because gathering crowds would obstruct the pavement. From the first fruits of his film success, Phoenix saved $650 to obtain his prized possession, a guitar with which he wrote what he described as progressive, ethereal folk rock.
While working on A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon in 1986, Phoenix had written and recorded a song, Hard to Get, specifically for the end credits of the movie. 20th Century Fox cut it from the completed film, but director William Richard put it back into place for his director's cut some years later. It was during filming that Phoenix met Chris Blackwell of Island Records. This meeting would later secure Phoenix a 2-year development deal with the label. Phoenix disliked the idea of being a solo artist and relished collaboration, therefore he focused on putting together a band. Alika's Attic were formed in 1987, and the lineup included his sister Rain.
Phoenix was committed to gaining credibility by his own merit and maintained that the band would not use his name when securing performances that were not benefits for charitable organizations. Phoenix's first release was Across the Way, co-written with bandmate Josh McKay, which was released in 1989 on a benefit album for PETA titled Tame Yourself. In 1991, Phoenix wrote and recorded a spoken word piece called Curie Curie for Milton Nascimento's album TXAI. Also in 1991, the Alika's Attic track Too Many Colors was used in the film My Own Private Idaho, which included Phoenix in a starring role.
Alika's Attic disbanded in 1992, but Phoenix continued writing and performing. While working on the film The Thing Called Love in 1993, Phoenix wrote and recorded the song Lone Star State of Mind, which he performs in the movie. The song was not included on the film's soundtrack album. In 1996, the Alika's Attic track No to a Friend was released on the 1996 benefit album In Defense of Animals, Volume 2 and featured Flea of Red Hot Chili Peppers on bass. Phoenix had collaborated with friend John Frusciante after his first departure from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and the songs Hide Down and Where I've Been were released on Frusciante's second solo album Smile from the Streets You Hold in 1997. Phoenix was an investor in the original House of Blues in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which opened its doors to the public after serving a group of homeless people on Thanksgiving Day 1992.
Phoenix was a dedicated animal rights, environmental and political activist. He was a prominent spokesperson for PETA and won their Humanitarian Award in 1992 for his fundraising efforts. In 1990, Phoenix wrote an environmental awareness essay about Earth Day targeted at his young fanbase, which was printed in 17 magazine. Phoenix was a lifelong vegan. His first girlfriend Martha Plimpton recalled, "Once when we were 15, River and I went out for a fancy dinner in Manhattan, and I ordered soft-shell crabs. He left the restaurant and walked around on Park Avenue, crying. I went out and he said, 'I love you so much, why?' He had such pain that I was eating an animal, that he hadn't impressed on me what was right." He financially aided a great many environmental and humanitarian organizations and bought 800 acres of endangered rainforest in Costa Rica. As well as giving speeches at rallies for various groups, Phoenix and his band often played environmental benefits for well-known charities as well as local ones in the Gainesville, Florida area. He campaigned for Bill Clinton in the 1992 U.S. presidential election.
In late October 1993, Phoenix had returned to Los Angeles from Utah to complete the 3 weeks of interior shots left on his last project, Dog Blood, a film that was finally completed in 2012.
Musician Bob Forrest, a good friend of Phoenix, in his 2013 memoir Running with Monsters, gave one of the most detailed accounts of Phoenix's final days and the moments leading up to his death. Forrest said that in the days leading up to his death, Phoenix was staying with Red Hot Chili Peppers guitarist John Frusciante. The two would do large amounts of drugs together, embarking on huge binges, and barely if ever slept. He said the drug routine was consistent for all of them, as he was there doing drugs with them. First they would smoke crack or inject cocaine intravenously, then inject heroin.
On the evening of October 30, 1993, Phoenix was to perform with the band P, which featured his good friends Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, actor Johnny Depp, Jibby Haynes of the Butthole Surfers along with Al Jurgensen of Ministry at the Viper Room, a Hollywood nightclub partly owned at the time by Depp. Forrest claims that Phoenix and Frusciante arrived at the club together, where they would meet up with Phoenix's girlfriend Samantha Mathis, Phoenix's brother Joe Quinn, and their sister Rain, along with Flea and Depp. After arriving, cocaine was immediately passed around. Forrest later said that Phoenix was obviously already high and was, as he put it, unsteady as a boxer who had taken one too many headshots during a 15-round bout.
During the performance by P, Forrest said that Phoenix tapped him on the shoulder to tell him he was not feeling well and that he thought he had overdosed. Forrest said to Phoenix that he didn't think that he was overdosing because he could stand and talk. Nonetheless, he offered to take Phoenix home, but Phoenix declined, saying he was feeling better. A few moments later, Forrest said that a commotion erupted in the club and he went outside to find Mathis screaming as her boyfriend was lying on the sidewalk having convulsions. Joaquin called 911 but was unable to determine whether Phoenix was breathing. His sister Rain proceeded to give him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
When the ambulance arrived, Phoenix was still alive, and Flea went with him to Cedars-Sinai Hospital. When Forrest arrived at the hospital, he saw Mathis standing in the hallway crying. Further attempts to resuscitate Phoenix at the hospital were unsuccessful. He was pronounced dead at 1:51 a.m. PST on the morning of October 31, 1993 at the age of 23.
In the 2013 book, Last Night at the Viper Room, River Phoenix and the Hollywood he left behind, Gavin Edwards points blame at Frusciante as being the one to give Phoenix the drugs that took his life. In an interview with director William Richard, Edwards discusses Phoenix's death, stating that Samantha Mathis also accused Frusciante. MW parser output.templatequote overflow hidden margin 1m0 padding 040 px.mw parser output.templatequote cite line height 1.5m text align left padding left 1.6m margin top 0.
River didn't want to go that night. She offered to take Joaquin and Rain for him since Joaquin was still underage. River changed his mind at the last minute and ran to meet them at the elevator. So River arrived with Samantha, Joaquin, and Rain. They got a booth in the back, and he waited to be invited up to play. He stayed sober because he was planning on getting on stage with Flea. After he found out that there is not enough room on stage for him, he was going to take his guitar back to his table and play. According to Richard, after reaching the club, Mathis said John Frusciante approached that table, offered River a little plastic blue cup and said, "Drink this, Riv, it'll make you feel fabulous." River drank it down and suffered an immediate reaction. His neck bulged, his back twitched, and he complained, "Something's wrong." He then vomited at the table.
In 2018, Samantha Mathis opened up about Phoenix's death. Mathis said that she and Phoenix had originally only intended to drop off Phoenix's siblings at the Viper Room on the way to her house, but Phoenix decided to stay for a while after he was asked to perform with the band. She insisted that during their time dating she had known him to be sober, but in the days before he died, though, "I knew something was going on. I didn't see anyone doing drugs, but he was high in a way that made me feel uncomfortable." She added that the heroin that killed him didn't happen until he was in the Viper Room. "I have my suspicions about what was going on, but I didn't see anything." Mathis went to the bathroom and on her way back to the table, saw Phoenix apparently engaged in a scuffle with another person. The bouncers removed both men from the club. Mathis shouted at the other man, "What have you done? What are you on?" Only to be told by another person, "Leave him alone, you're spoiling his high." By that point, according to her account, Phoenix had fallen to the ground and begun to convulse.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.